University. She is involved with the Business Women's Association of South Africa, having founded the BWA student chapter in Port Elizabeth. She also won the favorite vote as a finalist in the Miss South Africa 2016 competition. Mikaela uses her work in the fashion and media industry as a platform to critically analyze women's position in society in terms of traditional standards of beauty, accepted gender roles, and power relations within the spaces women occupy, and all through a feminist lens. Please join me in welcoming the beautiful Mikaela Oosthuizen.
I'm not using that mic, I've got my own mic, yeah. Thank you. Is it working? Is it not working? Oh wait, it's not on. Hang on guys, it's happening, the blonde moment. Wait. Success, cool. Alrighty. Hi, I'm Mikaela Oosthuizen and I'm a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. This is how I often introduce myself to people. Recently I've come to question why I feel the need to rattle off my CV when first meeting someone, and the unfortunate reality is that if I don't, more often than not I'm classified as a dumb blonde because I happen to be a model. I felt the need to validate my right to occupy a space within a conversation. This got me thinking about women and the spaces we occupy. My aim today is to lead a charge on these spaces of assault, namely the gym, within our relationships, and within our very feminist troops. Looking back, I was always a feminist, I just hadn't labeled it as such. As a little girl, I didn't realize that women were engaged in a battle to be seen as equal to men. I just assumed we were. Fast forward to the present and the current standing of our troops. There's a counter-assault on women's rights, classified as a backlash due to the hostile nature of the attack being at its most acute stage. This preemptive strike is set off not by the attainment of women's rights, but by the increased possibility that we might actually achieve it. Today's sexism is insidious, yet camouflaged in liberated spaces, which are in fact littered with landmines. One such space is the gym. If in the 1950s it was the home from which a woman's worth was judged, in the present tense it is the gym with the body as our battleground. If in the past women were seen to exist for the family as a mother, in the present she's seen to exist for the attainment and satisfaction of her partner. Having a controlled figure is the primary capital from which a woman's worth is judged. This manifests at a young age when I, like many little girls, are encouraged to play dress-up, while boys are encouraged to build forts. This proves detrimental, as little girls are taught to view their bodies as projects to work on, while boys are taught to view their bodies as tools to master their environment. I was fortunate enough to appear on the cover of one or two magazines recently, and on the day that one of these publications came out, I rushed to the store after gym to buy a few copies, as one does, because mama, I made it. And upon scanning my various copies, the cashier asked me why I'm buying so many, and I explained to her that, it's actually me on the cover. And I don't know if it's because I looked particularly good on the magazine or particularly bad after gym, but all I got from her was a really slow and skeptical highball. After much consideration and a few inputs from her colleagues, we were eventually able to convince her that it was me. Not because the image was photoshopped in any way, but because it's often difficult to match the reality of this maked-up self with the reality that we wake up to every morning. In the most extreme cases, this perfection is personified as natural. The extreme cases of altered, made-up versions are presentified as the norm. This proves very detrimental, as women are taught to see their flaws as problems, as unnatural. The deception of perfection is the deadly snare which has taught countless women to see themselves as inadequate because what they are in reality doesn't live up to this ideal. Cindy Crawford once famously said she wished she looked like Cindy Crawford. The results are catastrophic, as women will not fight against the attack of the backlash if they believe that their natural body is not worth fighting for. Don't get me wrong, there is great importance in looking after one's health as facilitated by the construct of the gym. But the physical, liberating feeling of asserting yourself on a punching bag is lost in the irony that women can get strong just not too strong. Like, have a six-pack, have a taut stomach, but don't let it straighten out the hourglass figure leading to your hips. This would make you unwomanly. With every physical liberal assertion, there's a male-imposed limitation. It's a booby trap that has ensnared countless victims. And so, as we trudge forward in battle, I'd like to debunk a myth. Woman, you do not owe prettiness, sexiness, or thinness to anyone. Not your mom, not your boyfriend, not your male friends. Prettiness is not a rent you pay for occupying a space marked female. This brings me to my next point, relationships. Within battle, our allies are often our greatest assets, and both men and women are our partners. But men. There are some comrades among you who are seriously staining your reputation, and as a result, all women start to question whether you are friend or foe. I was out recently with a group of friends. A man I didn't know came up to me and point blank told me that he wished that the straw that I was sucking on was his. So now what I actually should have done is just... But the most upsetting... the most upsetting part was that it was this guy's friends who had egged him on to do it, because apparently being dared to do something is an activity no longer just reserved for 12-year-olds. So men, when you see a fellow soldier wandering into dangerous territory, encourage him to retreat. Be our reinforcement in this fight against the cult of masculinity. In defeating patriarchy, it's not about attacking men, but on educating them, one straw at a time. Today's sexism is insidious, subtle, even friendly in a can't put your finger on it kind of way. It's never quite blatant sexism, but it manifests in micro insults, which wear down even the most resilient soldier. Women often unknowingly do this to each other. In a series of media interviews recently, a question that I was asked first by female journalists was whether I had any marriage plans. Yes, this was the first question. The second question was whether I was in a serious relationship. After the initial humor of the situation, given the fact that I'm 22, and the focus of the interview was supposed to be on my scholarship as an acclaimed African leader, I realized how sad this obsession with relationships had become. Relationships and marriage are beautiful and cause of celebration in due season, and some people's come earlier than others. But I refuse to feel like I'm waiting for anything or anyone. I'm building. I'm building myself into the woman I was destined to become. Being single means figuring out what you want your life to be like and who you want to spend it with. It means having self-restraint to wait for what you deserve. Similarly, there's no use us having strong female role models, and then when they're put in front of us women ask them what it feels like to be 40 and not yet have kids. Motherhood is an extension of womanhood, not the definition. So as we trudge forward in battle, we need both men and women to be active duty officers in monitoring each other's assaults, whether purposeful or accidental. This brings me to feminism. When it comes to feminism, women often have issues with taking up this title. This is when the backlash becomes most dangerous, when it starts to go private, when it lodges itself inside a woman's mind and starts to get her to silence herself, when she starts to impose this backlash on herself. For example, this TED Talk. There are a million reasons why my opinion can be discredited. How can I be a model and still be a feminist? Isn't that going against the industry itself? People say things like, models are just vying to be the shiniest object in the room. Pageants are money-making machines fueled by female insecurity and submission. Tell us how you really feel. I don't have the time to go into the merits of such truly empowering competitions or my personal journey of discovery as aided by the very industry that most criticize. But I will say that for the longest time, speaking out on feminist issues, specifically in fashion and media, seemed really hypocritical, given that it's an industry I often directly profit from. I make the argument that one cannot change the industry by sitting on the sidelines, and that by partaking in the industry, I have more power in impacting it. But in partaking in it, am I not contributing to the casualties? By posting a swimwear selfie on Instagram, am I condoning my own objectification? My existential angst was alleviated when I got this message on my LinkedIn profile. Hey, sweetie, you fin. And I'm just like, yes, I've always wanted to be thin. This is great. But I don't think that this is what this gentleman's typo was referring to. This just made me realize that modesty will not protect me from male interrogation. Men will objectify your LinkedIn profile picture. And so the question stands, can you be a feminist and still be a model? The industry in general is problematic in many ways. Natural, authentic, messy beauty cannot be judged, ranked, scored. It isn't plucked or planned or performed or rehearsed. The industry is problematic. But so is the question, can you be a feminist and still ... As if there's an activity women can partake in where we can have our feminist card revoked. The fact that this is even a question indicates an expectation of perfection from feminism. The whole point of feminism was to subvert the norms that women were forced to confine to. We just escaped what a perfect woman is supposed to be. Let's not do the same for what a perfect feminist is supposed to be. There is an innate danger in excluding people from a conversation that was born out of the inclusion of all who believe in the equal rights of both men and women. We need to be amplifying each other's voices, not trying to cut each other out of a conversation. Just because I post a bikini photo doesn't discredit my opinion, nor does it make my IQ any lower than yours. We need to find unity within our troops. And so, as I dare to reinvent the future, what is my rally cry? My charge to you is that regardless of age or standing, rank or creed, you take up the baton of feminism in the various spaces we women occupy, however you choose to define the term feminist. In the fight for equality, surrender is a luxury us women cannot permit ourselves. I'm Mikaela Oosthuizen. Thank you very much.